BAM! You're tuned in to the BAM BizTALK Podcast, where we explore the thrilling world of entrepreneurship through the eyes of successful business owners themselves. I'm your humbly eccentric host, Angel Garcia, co-founder of the BAM Entrepreneurial Center. Each episode, we delve deep into the unique stories of entrepreneurs who've navigated the ups and downs of the business world to give you the opportunity to learn from both their triumphs as well as their challenges, providing actionable insights to propel your own entrepreneurial journey. So, let's dive in and walk the path of entrepreneurship together. Welcome to the BAM BizTALK Podcast, your beacon for building business success. BAM! Welcome everybody to the BAM BizTALK Podcast. We're here today with Miss Lisa Butler. You know what? I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, we've already tried a couple times before the mic went on. It didn't work.
It's not working. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm with Eofficial Enterprises. So it's the umbrella company for the Odessa Marriott Hotel and Conference Center, the Ector Theater, and then in November, we're opening up a Woodhouse Day Spa downtown.
Day Spa.
Yes.
Interesting. We'll definitely get into that.
I'm ready to go right now.
No lie, right? Like
we're gonna take this podcast to the spa.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
we need as long as we have some equipment that's not like wired, because you saw me putting this together, right?
Yeah, it would be challenging.
Yeah, but technology's really making advancements, so maybe get a little AI floater. Camera.
If we have time, let's talk about that, because I know that that's an area that you are really focusing on right now, and I think it's really, for myself and for many people, it's very overwhelming. There's just so many mixed messages about AI. So anyway, that's something to bookmark.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a wild time we're living in.
Yes, it is.
And then just compact and layer on all of humanity with that, right? Like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we could just get into it. So since this is going to range from philosophic to business with us.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So I was listening to a podcast called The Emerald. It's very esoteric. The guy's very poetic. But one thing he was saying about AI, I can't remember if we talked about this, was that in a way, like when the Industrial Revolution happened, Nietzsche, so I'm going to get my times and dates all wrong. Don't hold it against me.
I'm the same. Time is...
But Nietzsche had a quote, and he said, God is dead. And what he meant by that is when we became aware of our capability to be creators on the planet, especially during the Industrial Revolution. That's why it was a revolution. Our ability to feel like we could control things on the planet changed. That in a way, that's when people began to move away of the Father God, that it makes things secure and easy, because now if we're the creator, there's a conflict in us. And he was saying that perhaps AI is a resurgence of creating an unknown mystery God for ourselves. We don't know what AI is going to do. We don't know if it's going to take over the world. Once again, we become small, and there's a security in that for us, which I think is interesting, because it's frightening, it's exciting. We don't know how it's going to evolve, or if it's going to evolve into its own consciousness. And I think that I think there's something in that frame for AI.
There definitely is, and I like how you said that. It makes us feel smaller, right? Especially like you go back to civilizations who built huge monolithic structures. Like take Nazi Germany time, they built these huge at scale buildings and structures, and made us feel small.
Oh, interesting. So that's how they gained influence over people, is by becoming that God, associating with that godlike bigness, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You were as an individual insignificant.
Right. Interesting. So it's like a mind game right away.
Yes. It's all psychology, right?
Yeah.
Because that was something that Hitler was a genius at. He'd set the tempo. When you go to a rally, much like today's political rallies, right? It's that group think. It's that chanting. It's
the drums, the marching, the hypnosis.
Your environment. It is very hypnotic, right? So of course you're gonna root, because the person next to you is rooting. You're gonna say ugly things and about the other team and rah. This is my team, and that's how we're operating right now, because we do not feel like we have power as individuals. Mm-hmm. Where that's what built America.
Right.
That individuality, the pioneer, the let's explore, let's go outside of the bounds, let's break the paradigm shift.
Yeah.
I actually just put a social media post out this morning about paradigm shift, level up. It's the next level. Are you aware of who you are?
Well, so I have a question then, Angel. How do we, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as humans, how do we know how to ride the paradigm shift without becoming overwhelmed? Because now, in the age of information, there's a million apps and platforms, and each one of them has a million capabilities. And we're doing our jobs and we're raising our families. How do you decide where to focus in order to use the technology rather than have it use you?
That's a good point. And I think it, as many things, comes down to is purpose. What's your end goal? And there's a lot of different paths on the way. And I feel that, what's that Robert Frost quote? The path less taken.
Two roads diverged.
Right.
And I took the path that was less traveled.
Less traveled, yeah. Right. So I think that when you're navigating with all these different tools and AI, what are you trying to accomplish, right? So I'm really experimenting a lot with these tools, and I think that's what you need to do, right? Because all of them have a free version. Dabble in it for an hour. What if getting into this, if I can really sink into it and get something accomplished within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, okay, maybe that one's I'm going to revisit this one. This could really be useful. This other one over here, well, it looks cool and the advertising and the messaging is amazing. Yeah, that's what I need. But you get into it, okay, just a little bit more than I need, or it doesn't do what I need, right? It's not in the way that it's going to benefit me because it's taking too long to get what I need out of it. But some other ones, like I've used some tools and instantaneously, like the first time ChatGPT came out, mind blowing, right? I'm like, what? It can do that? It automatically from day one, it's shaving 2-3 hours off my production day.
Okay, so let's stop and back up a little bit. I want to revisit a few things that you said. So what I'm hearing you say is maybe take this down into little bite sizes and just have an objective. Like an objective might be, I want help writing emails because I don't like to write emails. And so this is why I'm going to look for an AI platform that can help me do that. And then through the simple task, we become familiar, less scared, and then our creativity engages, and then we are all of a sudden working in AI, but to go in through that specific task is what you're saying. And then can you give me an example? Because I always love concrete examples. I'm like, okay, sure, but like which platform did you use and like what did you use it for? So can you give me a concrete example of maybe like either something you're working with now or what got you into, what was your purpose when you started working with AI?
So I've been following the AI space for several years now, right? So when we talk about AI, right now AI is a buzzword, right? It's just it's hype, a lot of it. There's some substance to it, but AI has been in a lot of the tools that we've been using for years.
Like what tools?
Like a lot of the like Grammarly. Grammarly's been around for a while.
Can you explain to people what Grammarly is?
So Grammarly is it helps you write. It checks your grammar. It helps you. It tells you, hey, you might want to rethink about restructuring the sentence here. How about this word? Here's some options to use this word instead. And it'll tell you how well you're writing. It analyzes everything to check for plagiarism. And
so it's using, so to drill down a little bit further into this, AI is maybe surveying, is there a programmer that's saying, look at all these places to understand the rules of grammar, and like, is it an algorithm? It's written, it's a program. Can you just explain that? Right. Sorry, I don't mean to be
no, you're good.
Simple this down, but I think that for me, it helps to understand like, what are we even talking about and how does it work?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So previously, it's all machine learning, machine coding, right? And say machine learning, it means that your human is
programming something and telling the machine what to do.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, and using an algorithm so the machine knows how to do it.
Okay.
So what's happening now is they've created LLMs, large language modules. May have got that wrong, but it's LLM, right? A large language module, I believe. So what it is it's able to scrape a large amounts of text and data.
Can you explain what scraping is? I know essentially, but I think this is another word that people be like, what does that mean?
Scrape. So it means that the algorithm is going to go through and read all this data.
Okay.
Right? So for a human to do that would take years.
Right.
Which this algorithm can do in seconds.
One more question and then we can continue. What is an algorithm?
It's basically a mathematical line of code.
Okay.
Right.
So still the programmer's creating the algorithm.
Correct.
Okay, great. But that's almost like self-activating in the case of AI.
Interesting. Yes. So, the concept of the ghost in the machine, right? So we've created all these different nodes. So think of it as like a small brain. And the only reason our brain works or any animal's brain functions is because there's hundreds of thousands and millions of little synapses and nodes that are existing and connect to each other in a whole network, right? So there's a certain point where the network gets large enough that it can start to create that ghost in the machine, and it starts to have intelligence.
Or a will. So where it will understand where to look for the information or how to go in a direction. Is that how you conceive of it?
So I think it's how it can read and produce something from it.
Okay.
Right. It's so
how it synthesizes information.
Yes. And then has an output.
And decides what's important about the output.
Depending on how you prompt it.
Okay.
Hey there, bookworms and knowledge seekers. Ever wished you could find everything you need in one place? Look no further than the Ector County Library. We're not just about books, though we've got plenty of those, from the latest page-turners to classic favorites. We're talking free high-speed internet, tech classes to boost your skills, and awesome programs for all ages. Kids can dive into storytime adventures, teens can hang out and study, and adults can join book clubs or learn something new. There's always something exciting happening at the library. So whether you're a student looking for homework help, a job seeker needing resources, or just someone who loves to learn, we've got you covered. Swing by your local Ector County Library and see what we're all about. It's more than just books. It's a whole world of possibilities. Ector County Library. Your adventure starts here.
The BAM BizTALK Podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Pachuco's Restaurant. Craving authentic and eclectic cuisine in Midland? Well, Pachuco's has you covered. Located in downtown Midland at the ever-so-legendary and iconic historic building at 316 North Big Spring Street, Pachuco's blends rich and unique flavors in a conveniently pleasant and vibrant atmosphere. Enjoy the highest quality barbecue, savory tacos, burgers, and a variety of other mouth-watering dishes that reflect the spirit of a true Pachuco cuisine. Real, authentic, and just plain different. Check out their menu at www.pachucos432.com or call 432-218-8806 to inquire, or better yet, just show up and get your shine on. At Pachucos, where heritage, exquisite taste, and hospitality come together for an unforgettable dining experience. Pachucos, Midland, Texas. Now back to the show.
Okay.
Of what you ask of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
I see. So this is where prompts come in.
Yes. So the human is still very important at this point, right? And hopefully, as long as humans are around, we have some say in what the AI outputs, right, and does and controls. But I don't think we have to worry about that anytime soon. But at this point, a human will prompt the AI, this artificial intelligence, to generate something from this set of data that it's given. So you can upload, say, if you have a PDF, and the PDF is 50 pages long, and you're gonna have to, before, we'd have to go through and read it to get the information we need. Well, now you take that PDF, you upload it to your AI, and you prompt it, analyze, summarize this, and give me the key action points. So
it's like generating your own instantaneous cliff notes to be an old person talking old things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so you could have this huge.
So as an extension of our human brain, like our AI is 100%, I don't even know times what, increasing our ability to synthesize information. Is that one of the main things?
The main power of it.
Okay.
Correct. And to create, it's a creator, right? It'll synthesize, but it's just not. So once upon a, what would you follow up with that?
Time.
Right. So that's what you would call predictive.
Once upon a midnight jury.
You see now. So now you're going from like predictive to generative.
Okay.
Right. The prediction was what previously AI would be once upon a time. Right. It just, when you Google search.
Yeah.
For decades, right? Google has perfected this. When you're typing,
it's going to start pulling up predictably.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So that's AI. Right? That's a version of AI that we didn't even know we were using AI. Right? That was just the algorithm.
Yeah.
So that's predictive.
This is an earlier iteration of AI.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
When did we start seeing actually AI in the interfaces that we're using as people?
So I believe there was a paper written by Google and several other people that have been working on this. There are 7 people. They wrote a white paper, saying that the large language models, that's what it is. That's what they are, models. Large language models, we're going to be able to now be generative. To where now.
So this is the big shift that we're talking about.
And I believe this was 2017, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly, but it's only been five, 6 years, since this shift happened. This one incident, where from then on they knew, we just have to keep feeding this and building and training. They call it training.
Now literally we've shifted from creating the technology to kind of creating this predictive computer capability to, now did it shift by itself as it became the ghost in the brain and the more connections were made? Mm-hmm. Is it one connective thing?
No.
Okay.
Not at this time.
But that's the thing. That's what we're talking about, is singularity.
Yes.
That's what singularity is. Holy guacamole. Okay. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so it made the shift. Mm-hmm. And was that something that they knew was going to happen, or was this a surprise?
Yes, it was a complete surprise to them. Right. So this is the shift of the creation of the LLMs was like when they discovered antibiotics. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. It's just something that look, this works, right? Or when Hoffman discovered LSD, right? It was not used for what it was originally intended for. Something completely different. I see.
Gotcha.
Right. So they're just experimenting. They already have this AI. They've been building AI for so long. But like Ray Kurzweil, he's this futurist who has been talking about AI since the 60s, right? And he predicted that we would reach artificial generative intelligence by 2030. And we're almost there, right? Elon.
So you said we were already in the generative stage. So
yes.
When you're saying we're almost there, what does that mean?
That means that the most simple AI will be smarter than the smartest human who's ever lived on a base level.
What does that mean, smarter than?
So
because that's so complex, like smarter than in book learning or smarter than
not just learning, but in creating. Sam Altman, the owner of OpenAI, right? And he's like the Oppenheimer of this modern times, right? He's the one leading the charge. He's pushing it. There's other big players, right? Just like back then when they put a nuclear bomb together, they got the super team, right? Well, this super team are all kind of separate, but they're still working towards the same goal, right? So Sam Altman says when the AI is able to make new scientific discoveries on its own that humans couldn't. So move 37. Okay, move 37 was when Google DeepMind beat a human player in
Chess.
yes, or Go, something similar. It was a game,
Okay.
right? So move 37, AI made that nobody had ever made in the history of recording of that game.
Oh, a new move. It created
Completely
a new
novel move that blew them out the water, and nobody had anything for it. There was no response, no retort, because it was just definingly done, and it was a surprise. AI did that on its own.
How long ago was that?
This had to have been 2013, 2010, 2013, something like that.
Oh, okay. So before 2017, before
Correct.
this LLM development.
Right. So that was just the beginning
Okay.
of the possibilities, right?
I wonder if that spark or that thing is also, so in the way we were talking about Schrodinger's cat, or about the observer changing the thing they're observing, I wonder if that was like, do you know what I mean? It's self-referential, those kind of developments then. So it's really because nothing happens in a vacuum. It's always a relationship, even between AI, obviously, and humans. We're going back and forth with this evolution, strangely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is an evolution.
Yeah.
And it does take one for the other to leap over, right? It's like law enforcement in the criminal element, right? Because back in the day, law enforcement didn't have, weapons other than a club. Before the club, they just were there to keep the peace. But then criminals got weapons, so law enforcement got weapons. Criminals got bigger weapons. Law enforcement got bigger weapons. Now we see law enforcement with tanks.
Right.
And SWAT teams, and they have to go all out. They have to, because the criminal element is geared up and ready. So it's kind of the same dynamic, right? We're, as humans, just here, and then we create this algorithm. And it's like, okay, this is cool, very interesting. Oh, did you see what it just did? So we have to up our game,
right,
to address
because
that situation.
So the rate of paradigm shift is exponential now. So let's go back to this whole discussion about smarter than humans, what that means. So you're talking about making discoveries, medical.
Yes.
I have this sense that there's a lot going on that we don't, again, I'm trying to deal with a preteen daughter and my job and my own health and mental health.
Yeah.
And work, and then tracking this crazy shift that's happening. So what does that mean for us?
So it's definitely a time of transition, and in all times of transition, there's a lot of unknowns, right? There's a lot of literally, you have to take your steps based on the faith that that there's another step there, not because you see it, but because you have to have confidence that it's there. The faith of confidence. And so going through all our personal craziness that's going on, then you add on the layers of the world that's geopolitical, wars. There's still wars going on. What? I thought we were past all that, but no. Humans, since before we were humans, since we were still apes and monkeys, there's territorial, there's fighting, there's conflict. And nothing has ever proven in any time of human history where there was peace. There's always conflict somewhere, somehow. And in a lot of ways, that's what produces the next iteration of us, right? That's how we come out. So, what's that saying? History doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes, right? So there's always this rhyming, this spiral effect, this ongoing spiral, a screw of time. Even our universe, our cosmos, the planets, it's just not this stationary sun in the middle. And
no. Everything really works in a spiral. And so really it's kind of like, as humans, we evolve. And even if I later in my life say I'm jealous, and as you go through your 20s and 30s and you're reactive, and you get into your 40s and 50s and you have self-reflection, or you have trauma, whatever it is, we're always working on some echo of that, even if we change in our capability and betterness, and you're saying like it's the same thing with our human and technological evolution. And so why we war is it's like it takes, I think, also humans, because we're like mayflies in the sense of the universe. This 100 years that feels very long to us is actually a really short time for evolution. And so when you say we're still at war, it's like, yes, but also as a species, like how long does it take us to get, we have every brain in we have our mammalian brains, our reptilian brains, like every bit from the first single cellular organism, that consciousness is in us. And so we have these brains, and then now we have this AI extension of our brain, and yet we still have the animal self. And I think that it's really hard to reconcile being excuse my terrible language, but a dumb ape, and a complex, sentient, conscious being, and now having an extension of our consciousness in technology that we've created, like to reconcile the reality of that and live on the planet and wipe your butt and go to the grocery store, like it's a lot.
It's a lot. I think that was very well said. And this transition we're going through, I've likened it to the Cambrian explosion, right? So you mentioned earlier, there's all these tools out there. During the Cambrian explosion, all of this life just sprang up, and that has happened through evolution of the earth.
Because things happen exponentially. It's like it accrues, and then a big shift happens.
Big shift, and then at the end of it, there's something, catastrophic that happens, and only certain elements survive, right? So we're going right now through this Cambrian explosion of AI. 5, 10, 20 years from now, there's only going to be like some remnants, but the ones that we wanted to keep through this that were actually helpful and useful.
Or the ones that wanted to keep us.
There is that.
Sorry.
No, because
that's the question, isn't it?
That's the big question.
If we're the tool or if AI is the tool.
Who becomes,
Yeah.
So you know how they said that The Matrix isn't a movie, it's a documentary.
No, who said that?
Oh, you never heard that?
No.
Oh.
I mean, that's what we all sort of assume and think, and that's the fun of this futuristic kind of, dark, what is it, apocalyptic things, is we all sort of feel that way,
Right.
Yeah.
But machines take over and use us as, there's a war between humans and machine. And now we're the batteries, we're the fuel, we're what keeps them alive through our organic.
So here's my question. We're going to get into some weird territory now. Is, because of this animal territorial tendency, this is the way we conceive of evolution, is this pain, this war, this struggle, this death, and this new thing that emerges. But if everything is a relationship, if we could change our minds as humans about what cooperative, co-creation, creative evolution looks like, do you think if we were able to make a shift as humans that was out of war and destruction, and someone has to win and someone has to lose, that could change literally, because we live in an energetic universe and everything is the same, and the AI is different, but it's not, because we're all interconnected. Do you think if we changed our mind about what evolution could look like and becoming really just reconciling the reality that everything is cooperative in an organism, everything in our body is, but we're not reconciled to that on the planet, that we're all an organism on the planet, we're an organism with the planet, we're an organism in the universe. Like, if we could change our minds, do you think it would shift what happens with AI? Because our whole orientation towards what it is to live in the universe has changed.
I believe it's to a large extent a reflection, right? Like everything's reflection.
It has to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's mirroring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But like even in our own bodies, right? We have organisms that are not nice, but they're there for a purpose. Cancer, right? Everybody has cancer in them.
Right, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right. But what's the purpose for that? What's the purpose for parasites? It's the purpose for these parasites that just come along, they eat. We don't like them, we don't want them, but they serve a purpose. Spiders in our house. I used to let my spiders just hang.
Right, because it's an ecosystem. when it's actually organically arises, there seems to be a balance. But what we as humans, with our own ideas that we get out of things and not seeing everything as an ecosystem, we throw it out of balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a perception of it. It's like, oh, that's bad. Cut it out. Well, then you're disrupting a whole lot, right? Because so what is this? They when they introduce when humans take over territory and like the predator of that, like wolves, they scatter and go to other territories because humans took over theirs. Well, now these wolves are looked at as, they're really killing off all the livelihood of another ecosystem. And then when we kill all the wolves off there, well, then all the deer flourish and eat all the vegetation and create a desert.
And also become diseased because the population control in a system that's balanced with predator and prey, like it culls the weaker animals. Right. So there's a whole rhyme and reason to it all.
Absolutely.
That we've become removed from, I think, in modern society because 100%. We live not in connection with the natural cycle of things.
Right. We want to establish, something that's permanent.
Because the reality is we're all going to die, and we're terrified, and there's no place for that in our Western culture that makes a place for death in life as we just haven't reconciled ourselves. So I feel like all of this warring in a way, as well as territorialism, is us throwing a temper tantrum that we don't have control of the fact that we're going to die.
Yeah. I was recently asked a question. As you know, there's been a lot of death in my surrounding me, close connections, and I'm dealing with it, in my own way. But I was asked a question: How are you not breaking down? How are you not just utterly just shattered? I say, well, I'm definitely devastated. I'm hurt. And my quick answer was, it's my Jedi training. Non-attachment, right? I mean, I believe that because all things, there's a reason for everything, right? And life is a cycle, right? There's the wheel of life, right? You get on, you take your ride, and at some point, everybody's got to get off, right? So who am I to question that moment that this being decided to leave? I know my friend didn't decide to get in an accident, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that on his trip, that was one of his exit points, and he chose to take it. That was his time. No matter how devastating it was to his kids, his family, his friends, because we're all going to go at some point, because we all are kind of alone. But while we're here, it's where the connection is. It's the times, it's the moment, right? It's right now. Because there is no past, there is no future, there's only right now. Which is another conundrum, because we still got to plan for tomorrow. We still got to plan to eat. How are we going to live in our house? How are we going to survive? We still have to plan for that. But in reality, distill down to this one moment. You can't call it a second, a millisecond, or a minute. You can't even quantify it in a terminology way. It's just now. And living each moment now. I feel that in that way you can absorb what is now. But once you are past the previous now, it's okay to let it go.
Right. Yeah, I heard once it characterized, like, if you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're depressed, you're living in the past, right?
I've heard that.
I think these are all really, amazing things. I think that we're still having the emotions. And I think the question is, again, let's take it back to business, right? Or just boil it down to something practical for people, or family. That's a great idea. And it's a practice, and we practice, but still there's days where you wake up with bone crushing anxiety, because most of also what we were talking about earlier is my body learns its triggers when I'm a child. And so I, as an adult, can be live in the moment, but I still maybe was neglected when I was a child, or abused, or had an angry parent. And so life is hitting me all these things. And I think to take it back to AI, the bigness is how, what are some ways that we can make space for ourselves, in this, what we were also talking about, feeling is that everything's going so fast.
Yeah.
And it's also overwhelming. And like, how do you live in the moment when your friends died, another friend's dying, your mentor died, you've got this business you're starting, we're touched, who do I have a relationship with, all that stuff. Like, what do you do?
I think it's a lot of it has to do with your purpose, right? I know I'm not trying to be flippant, but I do believe that it can be broken down to, what am I here for? Why did I choose to come in this time? Why did I jump at the opportunity to come through the ethereal window and land into Earth? Knowing before I got here that I was going to go through this time and I was going to have to deal with a lot of these different things. But they say when you're young, you'll realize your purpose, even though you might chuck it to the side and move on, right? I think, when you start to come of age, that's why humans, they have these rituals of coming of age.
Have some, but much less these days.
Much less. Oh, much less. Right. But whether that there's an actual community ceremony surrounding it or not, each individual goes through that realization. It's so crazy we're having this conversation because I literally put out a post this morning about this. That I remember coming into my junior year of high school, walking out the back of the main building, looking out the courtyard. It's because my class was in another one. I was running a little bit late, but I was just taking my time. I didn't care if I was late. I looked out. As soon as I walked out the doors, everything was different. Colors were sharper, more colorful, more vibrant. The sound was crisp, but like I could hear birds, I could hear the wind, I felt the wind, and it was very surreal. Where I stopped.
You were in the moment.
In the moment, I was completely engaged, engrossed in that moment, and I had never had a moment where I realized that I was in the moment. Where consciously I was like, "Hey, you're seeing this."
Entrepreneurs and small business owners, are you searching for ways of taking your business to the next level? BAM is your answer. We specialize in crafting high-performance marketing strategies that put your brand front and center right in the palm of your customers' hands. Not only can we create a premium website full of features that optimize your social media and digital marketing presence, but we ensure that your brand gets multiple views from your target audience and even those visiting your competition. BAM is your go-to solution in the Permian Basin. But we're not just about digital and social media marketing. We're a one-stop shop offering a spectrum of services, including business mentorship, strategic planning, market research, and access to capital. That's right. We can get you funding to expand your business. With BAM, you're not just getting a service, you're gaining a partner committed to your growth for the life of your business. So why wait? Kickstart your journey to success today. Call us to set up a free consultation and discover how BAM can help your business soar above the rest. 432-247-8840. Call today and get your business launched.
It wasn't just happening to me. I was actively engaging with it. And from that moment on, it's like a paradigm shift. I felt like vibrationally I had leveled up. I had gone from being a child into an adult. I had matured. I don't know if that was from waking up in the morning and just getting to school, and then I can't connect it to any one moment.
I think it's somewhat biological. I think it's the way that we actually don't understand that our body as an organism goes through phases of awakening and relating to the planet and people differently because of what phase we are in our life. I think it's an activation that happens. And then also it's accrual of everything that's happened in your life up to that moment.
Yes.
And it's also passed into genetically history. Maybe this happened for every male in your family at that point. We would never know that.
Yeah,
It doesn't really matter, but
right. Epigenetics does that.
epigenetics, exactly.
Right, because there's your genetics, but then it's your environment that shapes you. You know, and where I went to high school at, I came in a completely sheltered kid. I mean, my mom sheltered me, but Pops always tried to get me out. He was always throwing me into situations and, see how I could handle myself. As long as Mom didn't find out. Because when I was around Mama, I mean, bubble, you know. So when we moved to the step, because I moved around a lot as a kid, about 6 or 7 times before I landed in the town that I graduated high school.
That's what we shared, that we have that in common, because I was a military brat.
Military brat. I'm an oil field brat.
Yeah. It's similar. All my friends in the overseas were the oil field brats. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get to meet a lot of people, get a lot of different situations. Well, this town we moved to, I've never been around a group like this. I'm talking about the town, the people, right? Just so different. And like, I got to explore, on my own, and learn a lot about myself. My age when I came into this was also relevant, right?
How old were you?
Let me see, this middle of 7th grade.
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Junior high,
12,
so
13.
it's like 12 or 13.
Yeah. But the first day in class, in the middle, like of the semester, right? Like, I mean, the middle of the school year, like we moved there over the winter break. So come springtime, who's the new kid, right? And it was very different from what I was used to. The culture was extremely different from anything I was previously engaged, in an environment. But day one, I met a really good guy, and he was everybody's friend. He introduced me to everybody. So the jocks, the gangsters, the nerds, the preps, the everybody. He just introduced me to everybody in there. So from day one, everybody knows me now. So that was different, because before I had always just stayed in my little corner and then made a friend here, made a friend there, and then gradually, got to know people. And then at that, you never know everybody. But this was different because day one, I know everybody, because I'm the new kid who nobody knows came from where. I came from what town did you come from? This little bitty 5,000 people town. I moved to, now it's like 12,000 person town. But it was very different. And so I think that had a lot to do, also it accelerated.
Well, it's back to this whole macro moment of the ghost in the brain, like you're connected differently in your culture that you're living in. So to go back to this question, like, do you feel like then you had a sense of your purpose from this awakening?
So it related to it, right? Because I had always felt the need to make others better. If that makes any sense.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
This is my sense of what you're saying, is to help. So there's something called the Bodhisattva vow, where it's really your purpose. Actually, I'm answering my own question that I haven't even asked you yet, is about my own purpose, but it's like a commitment to free people from pain and free all people that you encounter from pain and suffering. And not only that, we're talking about helping people to activate their own sense of purpose, to realize their own genius, like to free people, really, to free people.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I want for people. I want for people to break their chains, in whatever form that comes in, to get past, like you brought up, all of us have some sort of trauma, right? Others more severe than others. And when you're a child, that trauma, it latches on as a memory, as a physical memory that you have, that at some point you're going to deal with it
one way or another, whether it's numbing it.
It's always going to come to the surface because you can't repress these things. Either it's going to lead to dis-ease in your body. The energetic, say, like when trauma's in my stomach, right? And this is where I'm always keeping it. I'm never letting it out, moving it through my body. Eventually, it's going to affect the ecosystem of my cells here, and that could be cancer, whatever way it
expresses itself.
That we have a tendency towards, inherited from our own genetics through time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then what we're going through in the moment, we either move away from that to tamp it down or feed into it. Right? It's our choice, but a lot of times we're unconscious about it. So I think a lot of my thing is helping others become conscious.
Okay. Yeah, this is really helpful, actually. So how much time do you have? Because I think I can bring it back around to part of this discussion.
About 20 minutes.
Okay. So, it's okay, I'm telling myself right now, to have a quote simple purpose to free myself and free other people. So broad. But maybe but I really resonate with that because I feel like sometimes it can be complex to decide what your purpose is.
100%.
And even in business, like when you're saying, I'm going to take this back to the AI prompts, what's my purpose? Like how to filter through and get it down to the most simple place to start in a complex world, of navigating this huge shift that we're in and all this chaos that we're living in. So I'm going to ask you then, how, as a business owner and as a human living a complex life, like how can I be one of those people that's really smart about how I'm surfing on this paradigm shift to simplify my life instead of make it more complex, like finding my purpose in business. And also sometimes I feel like we're fragmented, like we live these business lives and we have this purpose, and like how do you make them meet when your job isn't necessarily reflective of your felt purpose,
Yes, and I think that's a huge conflict that since the industrial era, since we have to have these 40-hour work weeks, we have to come in shifts, we clock in, clock out, we have to pay the bills, there's this
way that everything's getting chopped up in our lives.
Exactly, compartmentalized, right? Because we're no longer roam free, follow the buffalo, go fishing over here, get water from here, and
following a rhythm of just how life dictates survival based on the rhythm of nature.
You are cut off from that rhythm. We cut ourselves off of that rhythm, right? Because we have to clock in at 8 in the morning, right? And if we don't, we get in trouble, right? There's consequences.
Yeah, we don't get our kid to school on time and get ourselves to work on time.
They get in trouble.
Yeah.
It is this constant, because I still don't understand this. When I was late for school, or when my child is late for school, right? Then once we're late to school, late to class, and the teacher sends us to the principal's office to get a tardy slip. Well, now you just tripled my time away from class and disruption. Now you just disrupted class even more so than if you would just let me slip in, sit down, and catch up. And if I don't get the material that I need to pass your test, that's on me, right? I mean, I failed. But now the system is creating that I'm an antagonist now, just much like our prison system today, our criminal system, right? I mean, they're incentivized to get you in prison. So, the more that they can tell you you're a criminal, eventually it's true, for some people, right? And it's hard to get out of that when you're born into that environment. That
we're still in the paradigm of the Industrial Revolution, where you are just a piece in a machine and you have a specialized function. And so that's really where we're living, right? And even our school systems are teaching to that, actually. Absolutely. Teaching to obedience and how to fit into as a cog in the machine versus I am what did you say? It's not, it's generative. I'm a generative.
Yes.
You're intelligence. I'm not predictive. I'm generative.
Right.
And that's where you get on heresy, because if I'm generative and I'm a creator on the planet, that puts us next to God, right? And so don't want a bunch of free godlike creatures running around on the planets to crazy.
No, I mean, whoa, we can get
we can get deep in the weeds.
Deep
so back to this question that, like, how do we make space for ourselves in this complexity? In help ride this wave, use AI. Like, what are some of our tools that we have at our disposal in this time?
I think, like everything else, you start simple. You get the basic, like, if anybody out there just wants to play, I say play around with it, make it playful, right? So get the free version of ChatGPT, get the free version of, and I'm going to tell this to everybody, Perplexity.
Oh, okay.
Replace your Google search with Perplexity.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're looking for like a restaurant or
Why?
a store or something. Because Perplexity and all the others are trying to catch up, like Google's trying to catch up. They're all trying to catch up now in the search, because you ask Perplexity a question, it will summarize it very detailed, but then it will give you all the sources where it got it from. And then when you copy it and paste it somewhere, it will list all the websites that it gathered the information from. It cites their sources. Right, so, and it uses multiple large language models. So it'll use ChatGPT, the latest version. It'll use Claude.
So you're saying it's going to give me a really much more nuanced survey, an answer of the information, and then if I want to go down the rabbit hole or a wormhole, like with something, then I know where. So then it kind of puts the power a little bit back in my hands, instead of just this mysterious Google who's telling me what I want to hear, and I don't even know where it got that from. Well, but how does this not make my life more complicated than less complicated?
Well, because I think it saves you time and energy of sifting through
all the different. So I'm not just going. It's not just pulling up website results.
Right.
So is it giving me a summary when I type in something? Okay, and that's what Google does not do.
Correct. Well,
so
previously, but they're starting.
Oh, they're starting. Right.
Yeah, they're all starting to do that. But I would say just start simple, right? Get the free Gemini version for Google, the free ChatGPT, and just so here's as simple as you can use it for an email, right? You copy their email, then you say reply to this email in a professional tone and convey this, and it'll write it for you, right? Okay. Use it as something simple as I'm driving home. A lot of them use voice now, right? So I hit the audio and I start talking, and a lot of times it's a brain dump for me. I'll just get all my thoughts out. I'm just talking about everything's going on in my life, and it'll summarize and analyze it for me. Maybe I can ask it, can you make suggestions on how I can...
Wait, back up. Say this again now.
So say Perplexity or ChatGPT, right? They have an audio function where you
okay, so you're just like literally talking to it.
You're just talking to it.
You're just downloading.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is there a time limit?
I haven't reached it. I mean...
So you're going in and brain dumping, mm-hmm. and so you're teaching the AI at the same time.
Yes, about you.
And so it's going to, as it knows you more and more. So if I say get the free account of ChatGPT, the more I talk to it and the more I prompt it, does it learn me better and what I want?
So yes and no. So if you're just going on the threads themselves and saying that each conversation, now they just introduced a few weeks ago a memory where it can go back to previous conversations and connect that memory to your current conversation. Now, in your profile, when you put your name, describe yourself, you can put in there who you are, what you do, what are your characteristics, samples of your writing, right? Samples of, you can command it right in
my style, right? In my voice, yeah.
Right. It will do that.
Okay, so you're saying you go in and you just dump everything, and then you tell it to give you suggestions?
Yeah, I would say, can you organize the week for me? How most beneficial? Like, what should I do? What in order?
Like, it'll give you a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, it could be like a personal assistant.
Yes. It could even one of the most simple ones, right? Is like I get off work late, right? I don't have time to go to the store to get things and then go home and cook, right? So I'm like, okay, what do I have in the fridge? What do I have? So I'll turn on the audio and I'll just talk. Okay, I have
asparagus. I have some frozen vegetables. I have some leftover chicken. And I'll just name all the ingredients that I can remember. What can I make with this?
Oh my God.
And it will say, well, based on what the ingredients, you say, list, and it'll say, you can do this, make this simple, and or I can even say, and what if I don't want to sit on the stove? I just will put in my Instapot. Oh, well, you can make a wonderful Instapot dish.
So when it comes to business, could I open up a conversation with ChatGPT? You can do this with Perplexity also.
Mm-hmm.
And say okay, here's what's on my plate this week. Here's the things I'm doing. Here's the questions I have. So let's say I'm talking. So, okay, one of my big focus right now is for the Ector Theater.
Yes.
We have this 750 capacity live music venue. It's attached to the Odessa Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. It's historic. Right. It was opened in 1951. There's a lot of people that went there for their first movie, their first kiss. Right. And now actually we're bringing in live music acts. So could I talk to it and say, okay, here's all the shows we've had in 2024. Here's the attendance I had for each one of these shows. Here's the genres. Can you analyze Odessa, Texas, and can I say, can you look at, say, the Wagner Noel, and can you look at all these other music venues, see their programming? Can you pull the data for the attendance on those shows and tell me what kind of shows I should be programming at my theater? Could it tell me that?
Ding, ding,
Holy tabali!
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, but so there's been a whole controversy lately about, some prompts that people put into ChatGPT, and it gives ridiculous, erroneous answers. So how do you trust your data?
You definitely have to put human eyes and an intellect into it, right? So discernment. So if you ask it what ingredients to put in pizza, and one of them says glue. Right,
which is one of the things that's been going around as a meme around, is one of the answers that ChatGPT, I think, gave.
And then a month or so ago, Google was putting out that there was, German knights were people of color, right? And it was just this crazy, that doesn't match reality, right? So, but these are glitches that are being remedied as we go along, right? Corrections we make. But so say you're going to strategize what you're talking about, right? Well, you can, especially with using Perplexity, you can double check the sources. Say when you bring up your competitors, analyze, because I do this all the time. When I write business plans, I'll do, give me a SWOT analysis on so-and-so company. Just give me their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Right now, this company that I'm writing a business plan for, do a SWOT analysis for them to compete with that SWOT analysis for that company. Break it down. Okay, so now you have that. You read through it and you make, you want to say, okay, that looks really awesome. So you go and do your homework. You go do that extra little effort to search yourself to verify if it seems outlandish, right?
Right.
Because you don't want to ever.
Because then I can do that. Once this bulk of this huge thing is done, and then I'm kind of refining.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because you never take it at face value. You take it for one and foremost, it's inspiration. Now because that what it gave you, it's going to give you an outline and a structure to be oh wow, okay, now the human
right,
side
exactly.
kicks in.
So this sparks something really important, and maybe this is a note we can end on, is that I think a lot of times, or what I feel in myself and have heard other people say, is just it's either they're really excited by ChatGPT and it seems overwhelming and my whole life's going to be subsumed into trying to figure out how to prompt this correctly, and it's so many platforms, so how do I learn them? Or really we're all resistant to change. Mm-hmm. It's always the sky is falling. Right. It's threatening new things, especially as we get older. So maybe just to name that fear in people, the resistance to this thing, which seems so big and scary, is just have a conversation.
Yes.
Just have a conversation. And because then that spark, if we can just carry it around with us on our phone and just talk to it and use it as a bouncing board for ourselves, and our own strategic brain becomes activated, that seems like it's an easy place to start. And then through that, our exploration can become more nuanced, which is interesting and scary because a lot of people, I'm a Pisces, so I'm always can see the other side. It's like, oh, well, I'm giving it information about how we work and it's going to take over and make us prisoners. And that's all possible. But this is back to the moment, too. The only thing we have is right now. And then that way it becomes a fun, creative conversation that we as humans like. And then the caveat to that is don't take it at face value, check your sources, which you always would do anyway. And the truth is we're doing this all the time with Google anyway. We're trusting Google when we put in and ask for a fact. So, you know what I mean? It's not any different that Google is also completely, we're being influenced by the algorithms of the businesses that we're using to get this free information. The people that run those businesses have agendas where they're pushing information our way all the time. They're influencing our results, who we see, who we don't see based on who paid. So we're already in this. So there's no escaping that. So it's like, beyond having a conversation, are there any kind of last things that you think about as far as like, how can I really be on the front edge of this and become advantaged by this technology right away? Is there anything else besides this conversational sort of approach?
So like in a business sense, say there's two owners and they're disagreeing on how to move forward on a certain way, right? Well, AI can be the third owner, right? So you say owner A, this is a situation. Owner A, this is their beliefs and they believe this is the best way to go because of this reasoning. Owner B, same thing, right? Provide another alternative, a list of other alternatives, reasoning, and your suggestion on the best way forward. And it could be the third owner that kind of bridges the gap and sees what these other two aren't seeing.
Or we could even do that, bring that down to our personal life. Like, I think this, and this is my stance on the situation. My partner thinks this, and this is their stance on the situation. Help give us other alternatives to the situation. So that way we're pulled out of our bias. And you could argue that the AI has a bias. Does it have a bias?
So I think in the development, yes, right? Like, I know when they were starting out, it was very biased, right? But as time goes on, more data fills it in. So the bias becomes like if watered down, right? Thinned out. So it's not as staunchly biased as it was originally. It's growing up.
It's just ghost in the machine. And so I just saw this image of our neurons floating around. They're like these funny little starfish, right? When you see a picture of neurons, and they're shooting out these electrical tendrils, and they're just kind of moving around in what seems like this haphazard way, but it's electrical and there's attraction. And so one neuron reaches out and another neuron reaches out. And so the more information that this AI connects to and then it becomes a synthesis where a holographic model of reality is developing all the time. And that's what you're saying is like, as it grows up, it's just like the evolution of it. It's going to become wiser in its decisions. So on the other side of this, like this whole issue of it becoming smarter to us, like, what do you think that's going to mean for us?
That's a huge question. I don't think that's answerable.
I know it's not. I just curious, like where that lands with you, or what you think that what the implications could be.
I'm excited because I believe in the positive aspect.
Which is what we were talking about. If we change our mind about like where this could go, is that the energy sway to lead it in a positive direction?
Absolutely. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that as long as we can, I don't want to say the word control it, guide it, so there is this big debate going on. It's like a race for the nuclear weapon. It is literally a race for the bomb. Who's going to get it first, right? Is it Russia? Is it China? Is it the democratic states of the world?
Get what?
Reach this
singularity.
Yes.
Can you explain to people what singularity is? I think we've talked about it a little bit, but
So it's the point at which the basic algorithm, the most simple basic algorithm, the baseline, is going to be smarter than the smartest human that's ever lived.
Would that not be universal at that point because of AI teaching itself, or they're discrete?
So yes, they're siloed.
Oh, okay.
Right now they're siloed, and we want to keep them siloed forever, right?
The intelligences are siloed, so they're like children evolving at a different rate.
Correct.
Oh.
Correct. Now, yes, exactly. So if say the United States,
Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, just or whatever. But, okay.
Yes. So Putin said it himself. He said, "Whoever controls the singularity, basically, the
Becoming smarter
pinnacle,
than humans as at whole, at large,
will control the world."
But see, so the other side of that is once it becomes smarter than humans, how will any human be able to control because also then in all the movies, the futuristic apocalyptic movies, even though they're siloed, once you get to that intelligence, can't it just break the silos? Can't it just infiltrate all of the networks, our infrastructure, our cellular, all of our technology that gives us global access? Then the fear is like it shuts that down, or it just does what it wants, so our actually way that we inhabit and move about our world, that's the sort of like general boogeyman that I think we're all facing.
So you're hitting on the point that Elon brought out several years ago when he asked everybody to stop and take a pause, a 6-month pause on development. Elon himself collected hundreds of signatures from scientists and top people in the field to say, hey guys, let's slow down and think about how we're going about this. Because Elon's been involved in AI since back in the day, right? Everything he does. Tesla is not a car company.
It's an AI company. Prototype development system.
He's using it to build something in the future. He don't care if his cars. Well, he needs the money for his cars to sell so he could build the future. Elon's literally building the future. Tesla is insignificant to Elon. We're all like, Tesla, right? And it's pretty cool, but at the same time, Elon knows that that's not the end all be all. He's trying to get somewhere else. That's why his big, audacious, hairy goal is get humanity to Mars. Now, likely, we're probably never going to get to Mars, and probably don't even want to be at Mars. But the journey itself of how we're able to get off planet.
So the off planet is the motivation, not Mars. It's like giving us more range. How does that relate to the development of AI though?
Well, AI, it was probably going to take AI to get us there.
Right, but what's the purpose?
The survival of humanity. So, we said in the spiral, right? Well, at some point, right now we're in the Goldilocks zone where life can flourish on Earth.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to be out of that Goldilocks zone.
Right, whether it's the sun supernovaing or whatever.
And the next planet is going to fit into this Goldilocks zone where it's just the right distance from the sun.
I heard that there's within our own, not solar system, but our own...
universe?
Yeah, universe, galaxy, universe.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the dumb things that are simple you should remember that you forget. But the sort of like crazy number of inhabitable, the likelihood of the inhabitable planets, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's astronomical what's out. We don't even know what's out there, right? We know what we know. We kind of know what we don't know. But then there's like...
So he's just thinking way ahead.
Right.
Do you think all of this is still, Angel, in denial of the fact that we have a lifespan of 100 years and we're going to die? But also now, so I just heard that there was actual successful head transplant.
Yes, I saw that. Wow.
So he's talking about this denial of death and organic lifespan where we're just like, no, I want to be a God that lives forever. And that has its own implications. And then also you're talking about the natural balance of life versus... Then are we like a cyborg? We're married with an AI, and we're becoming like actual live forever beings.
So there is this. Are you familiar with Zecharia Sitchin?
Mm-mm.
So he wrote books summarizing and analyzing the Sumerian texts, right? And a lot of these texts talk about the Elohim and these ancient beings that came down.
Which is actually one of the names of God, Elohim.
Aha.
Mm-hmm.
Something larger than ourselves.
Right. That. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's in there. It's in the Sumerian text and it's depicted in hieroglyphs and different parts of the world where we were experimented on, right? As a creature, not human, not ape, they're basically a workforce that was
we're like genetically engineered.
Yes.
Workforce for what?
So, all right, well, to build the pyramids, it just wasn't regular. The creature that was here was not intellectually capable of following orders to build something, right? But then there were so few of the Elohim or the gods that were here, they couldn't do it. They needed help. So literally spliced our DNA to put caps on our telomeres.
What are telomeres?
So they gauge how long that we're able to live.
Okay.
So in the Bible, it's like so and so ruled for thousands of years, thousands of years, begotten thousands of years. Begot who? Begot, and all of a sudden, now we can only live to 100, 120 years, right? Like we can't go past that. It's like a block. No matter how physically fit and take care of yourself, you don't go that far, right? Well, before, how did they used to do that before then? Or is it just stories?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just kind of metaphors for, planets and cosmos? And,
right. And people's own different perception of time.
Right. Epochs of time that we have no concept of able to calculate, right? Or did they really live for thousands of years, these beings here, right? Why is it documented in these ancient texts? And it's just not Zecharia Sitchin. There's it's linguists have deciphered all the text, and he's right on point, right? So what is that? What are those implications?
Yeah, I've been sort of loosely following this whole line also of just like if we in our current iteration of civilization, how many years have we been modern man? But a couple hundred.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you think about extinction and just all these advanced civilizations, things we can't explain, the technology of the pyramids, right? And whole civilizations rising and falling in this arc of becoming intelligent and super technological, and then wiping themselves out. What is it? You know what I mean? We're so sure that we're the smartest, the most that's ever been. It's very like, it's a lot of hubris.
Yes.
For us to assume that.
100%.
And again, so this is just back to the question though, like what the, bleep do we do? Because it's so like, I still gotta pay my bills.
You still gotta pay bills, right? You still, yeah. I think live in the moment.
Live in the mystery too.
Yes, be okay with the mystery.
And that's the paradox, is that we know nothing and we know everything, and we're dumb and we're smart and we're kind and we're cruel, and like a certain kind of acceptance. And then it's sort of like, how can I honor the trauma, the animal body of myself, like, and the responsibilities I have to other people? And my assertion is always like, I'm doing the best I can. If I could be doing better, I'd be doing better. And just to try to stop that outward judgment, to clear the noise, to have capacity for the complex time that we live in,
I think that is where we're
and that's church for some people, it's meditation for some people, it's being outdoors for some people, it's focusing on family for some people.
Yeah.
It's like being able to like enjoy the sun for a minute, or the luxury of going to the grocery store, getting any food we want. Like what the miracles at our hands that hundreds of years ago were, like to be able to get on a plane and go across the world to get somewhere. We live in a time of miracles, and yet we just sort of like take that all for granted.
All for granted.
Yeah.
We really do. Right. And that's because we're chasing the cheese.
And you could argue, if you want to get into the conspiracy part of things, that we're trained to chase the cheese so that we don't sit in our power so that it's always something that we're chasing outside of our now. That
Mm-hmm.
keeps us it is for the ends of the people who want to control all the resources on the planet, keep us in a slave system. The value of the dollar is becoming more and more devalued. We're just on this hamster wheel,
Right.
you know, and that's a great way to really keep people from being awake to their power.
It is. It is the perfect way. It's the perfect dictatorship. When people think they're free.
Entertained by some TV shows and some junk food and some beer,
Yeah.
and all things that take us out of our moment, right?
All the distractions,
Yeah.
the extra distractions, just like Rome had the gladiator games. You know, we have our football and our sports and all the different things that are going on. And in that, you know, can somebody's purpose really be to following their favorite team and to go the ups and downs of that emotional roller coaster?
Well, it's like a substitute
Yes.
for our own actualization.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Placebo.
It is.
Taking it back to, what is it, Sigmund Freud's nephew who created modern marketing. What was his name again?
Bernard.
Bernays?
Bernays. Edward Bernays.
Edward Bernays. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
That is a whole other story. But, you know, Lisa, I got to say, I have enjoyed our conversation, but I don't want us to leave yet without you. What you got going on?
Oh yeah, well, as I said, it's I work with Eofficial Enterprises, Sandra and Toby Oath. I moved here because they're like some of the most exceptional people I've ever met, and have they grew up in oil and gas and made their money in oil and gas through family ventures, and basically like they decided that they wanted to invest in the community that they came from, and so they built the Odessa Marriott Hotel and Conference Center in partnership with the city. It's a city-private partnership. And what I would love for people to know is that every revitalization of any city, El Paso did this, it doesn't matter even where, it all starts with a hotel and conference center and bringing people into this downtown and making it, bringing the heartbeat back into downtown. And so I was really moved by their dedication, and they just really mentor and foster people. And so they hired me as their director of creative business development, and which was kind of a open-ended, where do I fit in this ecosystem? And so it started with onboarding and getting the Marriott up and going, which happened during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so now my focus is on the Ector Theater, and really just like wanting to, this is such an incredible piece of history, and also a place to come together in community. It's only 750 seats, and so it's like anytime you see music there, it's like you're on stage.
Yeah.
It's not your granny's theater anymore, but it is. We have this root into the past, and so really we're just building out one by one pieces of things that are of value to the community, places for people to come together and gather. And I would say, in light of our whole conversation, like the simple pleasures are, we're in community, we're our own ghost in the machine. Whatever we decide to do in relationship with each other can change our community, and you do have to start simple, and you do have to start where you are. And so yeah, we're just trying to figure out what people want to see, so if anyone listening has input about programming at the Ector, we're going to start a film series actually in conjunction with First Fridays. I don't know if people know about First Fridays, but Odessa Arts has done an amazing job of activating local businesses downtown in Odessa every first Friday from 6 to 9, I think. And they'll be like a business will have micro tattoos or a dance lesson, or there's just like a great date night environment that happens. So we're going to build out film festivals. We are encouraging local promoters to come. I just talked to Chris Aguilar, who's an amazing musician locally from Odessa. He and his buddy, they're going to do this small micro festival at the Ector Theater on August 2nd with DJs and dance music and laser show, dance party, like awesome. Activations in the lobby where you can get a custom run t-shirt printed there. So we're going to build out more of these events. And so that's my creative business development, is to connect with people like you, like find ways that everybody can show up as their best in the facilities that we have. And It's creative business development.
I love it. You know, I've never heard that title before.
Yeah.
But you're fitting it just perfectly in what you're tasked to do.
Yeah,
you know,
right. It's building the relationships. It's mining for like the creative ideas and helping to actualize them in the places that we have, right? And that's growing our business at the same time because we still have bottom line financial obligations. But I would never want a place like the Ector Theater to go to waste. But it's a challenge to like.
Sure.
I just went to the National Independent Venue Association conference in New Orleans, and there's a whole question on our, in our culture right now of being an independent versus being a corporate entity. And so a lot of entrepreneurs are like, home growing these creative ideas that they have, still trying to make money, but keeping it personal and keeping it community oriented and giving back instead of just creating a product to make money. And so I would say that's definitely the ethos of Eofficial Enterprises, and Sandra and Toby especially, that I just love.
That's amazing. And when this was built and I came in, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is such a powerful anchor for the community, right? As far as development goes, because it will show people that come in from out of town,
oh my gosh,
this is different.
People walk into this hotel, I've heard it when I've just been in the lobby working, and businessmen who are traveling to China and all over the world, oh my God, like I've seen a comparable hotel in New York City or in China or Dubai, like some of the most fancy developed metropolitan areas, and that we have this here is a huge gift. And this is the funny thing I like to say is we also have a 33-piece art collection that people can come just wander through the hotel and take a look at. This hotel was built like no other Marriott. Frank Lloyd Wright had a principle called organic design, and so the way the hotel was built was to amplify and connect with the natural area, but uplift it. We have limestone on the outside of the building that was mined from the Permian era because that's where the oil and gas came from. So there are all these like stories and echoes and thoughtfulness that went into this hotel that are part of the resonance that people feel when they come in. And we have on the Ector side, we have performers that come in and are just like, what is this place? This is like a Cadillac parked in the middle of the desert. We have coming up the Wallflowers. I think they're returning to this area. The performers want to come back to Odessa, Texas, which is a level 5 market in the music industry. Yeah. And nonetheless, they're just like, this is such a special place where I get to stay in this amazing Las Vegas style hotel and conference center connected to a theater. And the way I get treated and the enthusiasm of the people who come to the shows for like art and entertainment because we're in the desert is amazing. So there's something so special about this area.
That is super cool because this area in the 50s and 60s, 70s brought major acts here.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Toured this whole West Texas area. Yeah. But he loved to come here to the Ector County.
Yeah, and that's what we're really cultivating right now. So we're just trying to hit on the formula of getting the word out, letting people know what's the right mix of advertising. I'm going to ask some of these questions to the AI. I'm going to lay out my whole situation and see what AI says. Then we can do a follow-up and they can report on like how that's impacted my my reach and wisdom as a professional,
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, amazing, Lisa. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I think the work that you're doing is amazing, and I want to have more of these conversations because there's so much that you're researching and so much that you know, and I feel like to help make it accessible for people is just a super, super important gift.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon. Take care.
Yeah.